chicken barbecue. They can't buy a sub. So again, if we don't do this, we would support zero. I would even like to see if it was legal to give a donation to the fire companies. Because again, my parents taught me there is no free lunch, and I don't want to take advantage of a group of people that we're depending on saving our property, and more importantly, the lives if we needed to.
My take on this, I understand where everyone's coming from. What I don't understand is we keep saying it's only $11,000, which I understand that, but next year I just feel there's going to be a line of more people. Like Dave said, there could be churches. That was a great analogy you used, Dave, when you said churches. If you said aren't really saving lives like firefighters, but that makes
free.
That was a good analogy. But and to some people, they might feel a church does more. They might feel the spiritual part of life is more important than what firefighters are giving. And I can just see this 11,000, which is more than 11,000 because that's just the rental units, I believe. The dance studio, whatever that creates, if that generates a few $1,000s, I could easily see this turning into, within a few years, maybe $100,000 will turn away in taxes. And looking at listening, eavesdropping kind of on the people talking about the budget before the meeting tonight, the numbers that were given, when we were told we were 1.2 in the surplus, that was with, which the girls had said already, but that was with the SOL plus the maximum, what's that called, Dave? Exception. Yeah, plus the exception. So I think Beth said it's like 4.5% tax raise. If we look at not raising taxes at all, I believe the number was, we might be $400,000 on the plus at the end of the budget. And I believe when Dr. Bell spoke here a month or two ago, he said there was, I think 1 year when he was a superintendent here, that the surplus might have been at like 180,000, and that was dangerously low. Did you say? Or 217? So we're not, according to inflation and stuff, 400,000 on a plus is probably lower than 217 was 10 years ago or whenever that was. So I just don't know if we're in the position to turn away tax money. And to me, it doesn't mean we don't support the firefighters at all, but I don't know. I thought a lot of us pretty much all of us have talked through our emotions here, and I'd just like to look at this, what can we do to solve this? So some things I thought about, these might be questions for the solicitor. Dave actually brought one up. Could we give a donation? Maybe we collect all the taxes and then we turn around and donate a few $1,000s back to this company, a few thousand to this one. And these are just me thinking out loud. Maybe we do a donation thing. Maybe we forgive all the taxes. That's another option. Maybe we take all the taxes. That's a third option. Maybe we excuse them for a few years. I think, Dave, you and I talked about that last meeting. I talked to Robbie, the fire chief, and I was trying to get a beat on when this loan's paid off. Just thinking, if this loan's paid off in 2 years or something, maybe we can excuse it until it's paid off. Then that's basically a donation because we're helping them pay the principal off and down. So I'm not sure how long his loan or their loan is, but that's just another option. I'm thinking out loud here. So maybe it could be excused for a year or 2 years, whatever. I think, Dave, you said maybe excuse it for a couple of years so the next board can deal with it. But anyway, I spoke with Dave Graybill, who's a very successful business owner. He was on the board, and I respect a lot of his thoughts. And he just said he would be scared to death of the precedents that we're setting in the future here with other people that are going to ask for these tax breaks. And not that I care a whole lot what other people think of me, but I can just see years down the road, people saying, boy, that last board, what a bunch of fools they were, you know, turning away hundreds of thousands of dollars. Look where we're at now because we turned away all this tax money. So my biggest question, thing I need to think about is the precedence that it is setting. And I don't know if the solicitor took notes, but maybe you could talk to us next meeting about, you know, I don't know if you're allowed to donate tax money back. You know, if we collected 11,000, could we donate X dollars back? Is that feasible, or?
I'm not going to give you an answer on the spot. I'd want to research it. If you'd like us to do an opinion, as I said earlier, we'd be happy. Just tell us what the board wants. We'll be happy to look into it. So if that's a collective consensus of the board, we'd be happy to do it. I think it's the direction.
I think that and the Lickdale question, I think those are two things that would be important for us to know to make an informed decision.
Everybody agree with that?
I agree. I think that's the missing piece right now. We all have our emotional stories, and I value the firefighters. I had great conversations this week, but ultimately I want my decision to be based in fact, and I think that's the one piece. We have information because you're telling me what you summarized, but you gave information from what you've gathered, but now I'd like the legal ramifications as well. So
I think if it does come down to that we can't afford to pay $11,000 in tax breaks, I think we really need to start looking under the hood then. And some of the ideas that I would first suggest would be, even though I think it's a good idea, Rachel, is I think we need to gut the ice cream social and the cookies and use that money for things like that, because we do need to honor and show in our actions that we do respect the fire companies and are willing to contribute to their costs.
Just a reminder, that's money that was being spent on food for us. That's not extra money that we just are coming up with.
I realize that, but that's money that we could revert to this noble cause versus an ice cream social. I think the other thing we could rework next year in our budget is, you know, we give money to the rec committee, and I think that's something that I think is more, and maybe in kind, and it may not be cash, but it's still something that we could probably.
have you not been listening to my rec committee updates? They're done at the end of the year.
I understand I have been, Amy, and I understand they're in trouble, but my understanding was they're trying to work to survive, and
The rec commission is completely disbanded at the end of the year.
so we
There are
won't be giving up an office come July 1st.
I don't know what the ramifications for the district would be, but in terms of the rec, yes.
Okay.
I mean, as far as I understand, the rec commission is done at the end of the year. There's talks of having additional people will come together to do small events like National Night Out. But honestly, I'm in charge of that steering committee, and I'm getting nowhere with interest. So
there'll be no cost in kind or any kind starting July 1st.
I wouldn't even want to say that. I don't know specifically what the agreement is, but
That's kind of, if there is, maybe we can eliminate that and look at things like that to, you know.
sounds like you're hitting community. Are we targeting the community because we're not supporting the firefighters? Because the two things that you brought up are
Well, they're just the two easiest things that I can think of that we, you know, have. I'm sure there's other items in a $33 million budget that we can come up with to do things. And I'm not picking on Rachel at all, but you know, if we come up with an organized plan, because we have a great school district and we have great teachers and we have really good curriculum, maybe we can make appeal to students that do attend cyber schools, and if we got 10% back of those students, that's $78,000 from the last time that when we had that bill going around was some.
I think you probably could have said that by just saying, not picking on any particular person.
Well, I didn't want to get jumped on like Steve did, so I just wanted to preface that I'm just
Public
making.
is public knowledge, Glenn, so I don't think that's jumping on anybody really.
What I'm saying is that,
And if
that
I
the
offend
point
you,
you're
Rachel,
making
I
did not
apologize.
did not have to address a specific board member. I'd like to keep this as a general theme that you got, which is fine.
And my
but
goal
don't-
was to do that, so I
Okay.
apologize to anyone and everyone in this room, or anyone watching on video, that I may have offended.
Thank you.
And you never heard Donald Trump say anything like that.
Can
I
I
didn't
just,
mean to.
You may continue to talk. I
No,
just
I'm
wanted
just
to
saying
make
there's
sure that,
anything-
I mean, there's no, to me, there's no
$33
reason
budget.
to call out like that one person on the board because of their particular either religious convictions or deciding what is best for their family, and there's other like people that somehow they have to bear the burden for us to do certain things. And these are totally unrelated and not necessary in this conversation because it does not
And Glenn, I
forward-
think you're totally taking this totally out of context. I suggested a 10% number, which isn't 100%. So that leaves a lot of people, for whatever reason, to honor their rights under the state to go to cyber school.
But maybe I thought I heard you say, like Rachel, prior to that.
I did, because I
Meaning
was
that you're now
extremely
calling out one of
sensitive.
our board members. What part of this don't we get?
And what part do
You
you
co-
understand that you scolded
I am
Steve?
asking you not to call out specific board members. It's just, it's unprofessional,
It's
and,
inevitable.
and it's just not right.
It was unethical, it may be inappropriate. but-
Inappropriate.
And I didn't mean to do it inappropriately, I was trying to be as sensitive because you guys jumped over Steve when he brought it up, and I didn't.
Because it was wrong to bring it up. There's no reason. That has, the fire company and any of what the board members do in their private lives has nothing to do with what we do as a board to support the fire company. Those two are totally unrelated. And to say somehow that if we do something, we're going to be able to get more money so we can give it away to something else, it's just wrong.
And my point was looking for areas, and again, I apologize, Rachel. Hopefully it's okay to apologize to Rachel.
Yes, it is. And what I was saying is that you had a major point without saying her name, and it would have been exactly the same thing. Why would you have to mention her name in making this point, is what I'm saying.
You know, I don't know.
What was your agenda to say that? is what
Well,
I'm saying.
I got a B+ in speech class, so maybe I need to go back and take a refresher class on how to do this a little bit better, Glenn.
Well, I think you know what you're doing, and it just was not appropriate.
Well, again, I am greatly sorry for my mistake.
Your apology is
And I
accepted.
will work hard in the future not to make the same mistake again.
Thank you, Director Houck. Are we done?
Now.
Anyone else have any comments?
I just wanted to ask Dr. Bell something. Dr. Bell, I saw the request the fire companies made their letters, and I think we have the property numbers, but could you tell me the exact, amounts? The amount we're exonerating currently for Lickdale, and then the amount that Jonestown is requesting to exonerate for the storage units, and then the old borough hall, which is what the dance studio is.
Lickdale Fire Company projected taxes $1,713.90. Jonestown Fire Company for the State Street property $8,361.35. Jonestown Fire Company for the Market Street property $1,418.81 for a projected 2016 tax of $11,494.05.
Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to
say, keeps getting brought up. I understand that 11,000 doesn't seem, it isn't a lot when you consider $30+ million budget, but my point again is that when the precedence is set and more people come knocking each year, it will add up. mean, just last month, you know, this is $11,494. Last month, there was a vote to collect $40,000 if a property sold. It wasn't a unanimous vote. There were yes votes and no votes, and you know, that's what's great about democracy. But you know, the no votes, that's $40,000, and if that sale happens, we don't have. Now we're looking at $40,000 from that, 11 from this. Now we're up to $51,000 within. I think that meeting was two or 3 weeks ago. So $51,000 in 2 weeks. You know, that can add up quickly, and when more people line up next year for these to be exempt or exonerated, whatever the word is, I'm just afraid of that precedence once again.
And I want to comment on that. I was disappointed also in that vote because you have this group of people that want to build a school that pay property tax for our community. The least we could have done for them. And I'd ask you about putting that back on the motion, back on the table again. For that very reason, if they don't sell the property, they keep the property, we'll never see that money. It's under Clean and Green. Clean and Green is a way for farmers to save property taxes. And so right there, where that's happening every year for a lot of different people. This was a group of Mennonites that wanted to buy land, which is a shame that we couldn't support them. They're not taking anything from our community. They're giving to our community. They're good people, and then we didn't allow them to build a Mennonite school on property because we wouldn't give them that tax or the farmer tax break. So, and I likewise was disappointed in that, a group of people that pay property taxes all over our district, and we weren't willing to help them out at all. I guess I want to be a good community member. I want our district to be looked at as being community friendly, and anything we can do to build that reputation, I think is good, and that would have been a great way also that we could have helped our community. If they don't sell the land, we'll never see that money, so it's not like it's $40,000. Who knows what they'll do? I mean, that farmer can keep the land, we'll never see it, so it's not like we would have seen that money this year.
All due respect, Nate, my math was that cost us $120, not $40,000. But
If they sold it.
if they sold it and we exonerated it, that we'd be losing $120 for the 3-acre parcel.
If we exonerated, right. If we chose to collect, it was 40.
Just
One time, correct.
But that's a deal breaker, so I don't know how, but you can look at it how you'd like to.
Another thing that we discussed in our board training was that once a vote is done, it is done. So it's unfortunate you weren't here. And again, the vote wasn't for the Mennonite family, the vote was for a different. So I appreciate your spin on that, but that's not
a
what
spin.
it is.
It's not a spin in anything. It's a Mennonite group
The
that
vote
wanted to build a
is
school.
done, so let's be done.
And so I didn't realize that. Who made that decision?
Jeff.
Is that something, can you bring a motion back on the table again?
Yeah, my understanding from when I went to a PBS, school board president boot camp thing, that they gave an example of a school board that a woman wanted to introduce some program and she brought it up meeting after meeting, could never get a second, so it didn't gain any traction. But the point was that you do have the right to reintroduce things that got voted down at every meeting. Is that correct, Jeff?
And I suggested to clients, if you want a good legal opinion, get the facts, so I can review the law. I'll be happy to do it ahead of the meeting, and get the answer as quickly as I possibly can.
And that kind of is simple, and that should be.
It should, I mean, but here's what I would need, in a perfect world, this is what I'd want to look at your policies, what version of Robert's Rules of Orders do you follow, if you follow them at all. I don't have the agenda in front of me, I don't know how it was voted on, I don't know what it was voted on. I don't have any of those things, you're describing those to me, but I've learned in 20-plus years of practicing law with lay people, they will do their level best to describe a set of facts, and they may inadvertently leave out a set, it's a thing. As a general rule, merely because something might have been supported in the past, like I said earlier, or rejected in the past, does that forego a reconsideration of that same issue further down the road? No, as a general rule, it doesn't. But if you're asking, Dave made a good point. Well, could you bring it up every single meeting? I would want to know, again, the context to that so I can put it in writing and you can all get it. And instead of you hearing what you thought I heard me say, or maybe I didn't say it quite articulately, I can get you a written decision. I can do it next week, give it to all 9 of you and Dr. Bell, then you have it right in front. But my gut is yeah, you can always reconsider an issue if done properly, but depends how big of a stickler is on Robert's Rules of Orders. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of Robert's Rules of Orders. Because they're confusing, they're hard to follow, they're written in prose. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a school board. And so I'm not a huge stickler personally about doing it, but I know some boards are. And if that's important to you guys, I want to know that. But if you're asking for an on-the-spot assessment thing, yeah, you're not prohibited with pretty much any issue from revisiting it. There may be consequences in changing your mind. That, you approve a contract, you rescind a contract, you might have to pay damages under the contract for violating the contract. You do something that is unlawful and you get in trouble for it, yeah, there could be consequences for that. But as a general rule, you're always free to reconsideration.
I think just to put my 2 cents in, I think a lot of what we did at our board training covered a lot of this ethical, how to conduct yourself in a board meeting. And it's unfortunate that the 2 of you weren't there to participate in that, because these are the exact things that we talked about.
That's not considered a personal attack?
When we're talking about how we handle ourselves in terms of letting issues, once a vote is, that's one of the things that was in our PSBA training, is once a board, to have a cohesive board, once a vote is taken, that you accept it and you move on, and you support it in behalf of the district, and that is what I'm saying. I think bringing it up in light of something that isn't even related to that is not relevant. So yeah, I think it is pertinent to say. I think using another thing that was talked about in the PSBA training is that you don't call board members out on personal. And I feel like that was when you named her, that is a personal attack, and that's one of the things at our training that we had discussed, and we all said, yeah, we agree with that. So I think by saying that, in general, yeah, I think that maybe you should review some of those things to see that that's not how we want to conduct ourselves. And do you really, when you watch those videotapes, are you really okay with that?
I'm just trying to do what's best for our students and our stakeholders in the community.
Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion?
Can I just say one thing? Mr. Hackman, I'm going to put him on the spot. Can I put him on the spot? Can I put him on the spot? You just did. I just did. Mr. Hackman, have we ever been charged by a fire company?
Not that I'm
Thank you. Do you people on this board know what our fire companies do for us? They come every year. They watch our fire drills. They make sure that our kids are getting out in a good time. Block off entrances so the kids don't get into the routine. Okay? Our whole safety thing, they sat in on and helped us with them and charged us $0. And I feel we're biting the hand that has been feeding us pep rally, football, big bonfire. Who do you think's there? Not parents. It's the fire company sitting up there waiting to make sure the fire doesn't spread somewhere in our fields. It's the fire company. We have Jonestown people here. Jonestown Elementary, right? Spaces along the side of the fire company. Who uses them? Do we know? Teachers. Have they ever charged us? No.
I think that's a good point, because I've heard that when
you know what I mean?
getting charged for that. And that is a good point, Barney, because I think...
You know, I sat here and I listened to everybody, okay, and I know you guys think I'm passionate about this, but I was once a principal, okay? And I was thankful when a car rolled over down the hill and my fire company was right there. Okay? And they never charge us. And they do it every year. Just not one fire chief. The Lickdale chief comes out to Lickdale. The East Hanover, Ono goes to East Hanover. Jonestown comes to Jonestown. Fredericksburg chief comes there. And they never ask for one dime from us.
Wouldn't we then, I'm sorry.
No,
You-
I say what?
Wouldn't we then, wouldn't it be better for us then to say that we are going to gift every fire company? Because at this point, we're giving a little bit to Lickdale and we're giving a lot more to Jonestown. Now, I realize Jonestown's probably has a bigger fire company.
No, Jonestown has the rescue truck. Okay.
Okay,
And
okay.
if we're not, I sort of agree with what Nate said. Maybe we can say, okay, for 2 years, we'll do this, and then we'll look at it again. But I think just to say nothing.
What about if we did something for all of them?
Well, if I'm under an understanding, I don't see Paul here, I think almost all the fire companies are going together, are they not?
They're trying to go together. There's, I think, 3 at this point. You have 8 volunteer fire companies in your school district.
And the northern end is,
3 merging back it up.
That is my understanding. There'll be more, but I believe there's been 2, working on the 3rd. Could be as many as 5, but I'm not sure.
Why all of a sudden, and I'm just saying this rhetorically, but why all of a sudden these 3 requests from Jonestown? I mean, do you know, Bonnie?
I don't think they ever knew about it. That's my gut feeling. I can't say that for sure, but that's.
You mean they didn't know about Lickdale?
They
And
didn't
so
know
once
there
they
was
found,
that you could get exonerated.
and once they found out, then,
That's fine. But I just want to throw that out, and I'll gladly move on to item D, okay? You know,
Any other comments? Okay, then I'd like to chime in one last thing. First of all, I did talk to 2 school districts. Just a little background. One was Cedar Crest, obviously a school district that has their financial house certainly in order. They were surprised that we were dealing with this. They do not exonerate the fire companies, other than, just like we do support our fire companies when we exonerate them from, and I think it's by law, but we do support them when we don't tax their building and their social hall. They gave me an example of, and Dave kind of brought it up about a religious a church that they had in their area that bought a property next to theirs. They continued to rent out that property, and as long as it was for profit, then they charged them tax. Once they changed the building over to a parsonage, then they became tax exempt. But he said they've never had a request from any fire company. It would not pass because it's just not something that is done. I asked him, well, do you donate or do you pay anything when they come out to do things at the school? And he said, no, that is, they're volunteers. They enjoy doing that. That's what they are as a volunteer. And so they do not engage in making a donation, nor do they pay for special services that the fire companies have given out, nor have they ever. I then talked to Pine Grove, which I obviously know very well, and they, oddly enough, brought up the same issue that they had with the church that bought a property, and as long as it was for profit, it was being on the tax rolls. Once they took it off property and made it into kind of a rec hall, but just for the church, then it became off the tax roll because it was 100% for the nonprofit. So both those school districts were both pretty adamant that, and the one school, the gentleman that I talked to on the school board, He is an EMT. He is fully engaged in what it means to be a volunteer. And he said, you know, yeah, it can get emotional, but as a volunteer, he never expects that. That's not why he volunteers, to expect that somebody is going to be able to reimburse them. So that was those two. We do come into, from my perspective, equality among fire companies. Okay? Yes, you could say, well, one fire company has more fire trucks than another, so do we give them more? If Ono has no rental properties, my understanding from Rob from at Jonestown was that these were basically in lieu of doing a fundraiser. So would we then be obligated to give the same amount to Ono, who maybe does not have properties, because they don't have that as a fundraiser, but we're giving basically, if you give them $11,000 or whatever the amount, we'll say $10,000, you give them $10,000, that is part of their fundraiser. You could then become part of the fundraising of the fire company. And any other fire company in this district who services our thing would expect that we would support them in a fundraising effort the same way, even if they didn't have a rental property or something else. I have heard it, this is through the grapevine, but I'm just throwing it out there, what would it stop if they looked at this and said, wow, we can get a reimbursement? I have heard it floated out there. My wife used to be a treasurer for a fire company. I was a fireman for many years, so I'm certainly passionate about the work that they do. But what other private businesses, if they're in a storage unit now, what would stop them from putting in a Burger King and making that that's their profit, there's their fundraiser. They can hire somebody to run it, and on the back side of it, they can say, well, yeah, but we're nonprofit. Yeah, we're making a profit on this, but we're nonprofit, so we want you to exonerate the taxes on that property. Where does this end? I mean, I get the passion, but I think that we are, as a group, really need to step back and get away from the emotion of saying that the firefighters, that we are here to support them. We are here to support them, and we do. But how far does it go? I think that's what we've been asking. And I just caution that we're opening up a whole can of worms if we take these. And yes, I realize that we have done this one for Lickdale since 86, 87, 88, something like that. But now we've got these two new ones. Where do they continue to go? And just looking at our budget, yeah, it's only going to be $10,000, $12,000 this year, but where does it end? Where do the taxpayers? I always hear people say, when we're looking at the budget, we want to look at people, the retired person that's 83 on a fixed income, and I totally get that if we don't, they might have to go to being taxed, but where does the municipalities, they I think are the ones mandated to support the fire companies. I know they certainly do for Lickdale and for Greenpoint. Union Township gives them a very nice sum of money they get from the state every year to help them run their fire companies. And so just because now that we were kind of opened up, now we're made to look like we're some kind of a villain because we somehow want to have some normalcy in our budget that no other local school district in this area that I know of is doing.
Can I just ask the question then?
Sure.
Is there any fire company in those school districts that have extra property like that? And I know what you're saying, okay? But are there any fire companies in Cedar Crest or Pine Grove that have extra properties?
The one school district I talked to, they said that there were 3 fire companies that were paying into the tax rolls, that they were not exempt from 3 properties. So one of them I talked to for sure, then yes.
but I think it's
Right.
rare. I just think it's rare that we're in a situation that I don't think happens in a whole lot of school districts. That's all I'm saying.
But then it rolls over to the other question, which is, if I own a storage unit in this municipality, in this school district, and I'm competing against a fire company that doesn't have to pay taxes, I mean, if they go into a for-profit business, they're in the business of making a profit. They can keep most of their profit. We're just asking them to pay their fair share of property tax on the property that they're running their business on, because it is for profit. Even though they're a nonprofit, they're going out and using that. And that, to me, is government subsidy of a business. And I've talked about this before when we talked about renting our facilities out to businesses, that we have to be fair to those other businesses in our community that also rent out areas. Because if we have our prices too low for that, that is really unfair to a business person in our community that is trying to make a legitimate, fair living, or standard of living. Make sure that I hit all of my points. Private business. Okay, I think I've kind of said everything I wanted to talk about.
Can I ask Beth a question? The Jonestown Borough, I would assume they're the ones that would support that fire company, right? Because he said, like, Lickdale and Greenpoint are supported by Union Township.
Right. And certainly, like, if you're looking at Union's budget and resources, that would be different than Jonestown Borough's budget or resources.
But
yes.
How much do they give the fire company, I guess is my question.
Right. I know that there was
thousands of dollars, or?
I forget the name of the insurance that you pay, I guess workman's comp. So that would be funded, and I can get the details for sure, but from what I recall, workman's comp would be funded by the borough, which is a significant cost. And then the borough receives money from the state that they turn over to the fire company. And then there was an increase, and I think it was in last year's budget, there was an increase in what the borough gave to the fire company. But it was thousands of dollars that they give in addition to the workman's comp. And then, I'm trying to think of it. So I don't have the exact amounts, but yes, Jonestown Borough does give to the fire company.
I'm just saying it's just supported by Jonestown Borough, right?
Like, do you mean other?
Yeah, like, I live in Sutton, we don't support.
Right, as far as I recall, the other townships don't support, but that was something that had been brought up when I was at the borough, was, certainly Jonestown Perseverance doesn't just service Jonestown Borough. So then that was something that was brought up by the borough in the past, like, could other municipalities help, help with help support the Perseverance? So that's like a really good question, and I think that it's just Jonestown Borough supporting it, even though they service other areas.
Right, that's all.
Yeah, well, again, you just bring up one other point, though, that just kind of reminded me of another point, and that is that I do believe, and this is kind of curious, but that fire companies in general now are looking at companies, I think there's one in Ohio and et cetera, that basically they handle insurance claims for fire companies, so that if something like what happened on 78, they basically, this company files claims with all the different cars or that were in the accident that were serviced by the different fire companies as a way to recoup some of that loss. I mean, obviously they're not going to get 100%, but I think that because of the nature of how hard it is for fundraiser, fire companies have become very creative. They had to in order to keep their budgets where they need to be. And so there's, I certainly, like I said, I've been a fireman. I know the risks, and I know how what it entails. But I also know that when I was a fireman, the passion that I had, and I never expected, you know, anything above just going out and performing that service. The fire chief, obviously, he had to worry about the budget and where things were coming from, but as a fireman, I understood that whatever I did, the people that I was helping, would be helping, they appreciated the service that I provided. And again, I said it last month, I'm saying this month, the discussion of this has nothing to do with our commitment and our appreciation of what our fire companies do. This is simply a matter of where does it become impractical for a school district to do this and keep their taxes as low as possible. Back to you.
Item D. Item E. And item F.
I had a question about item F. So does that bid, Dr. Bell, does that include the materials and like that's everything, start to finish? Okay. Now the original number you gave was 25,000. So does, like, where's the extra 9,100? Like, is that now in our budget, or was that just a guesstimate? Like, it would cost about 25,000, or do we have $9,000 to play with now?
No, you don't have any money in your budget because you didn't even approve this to put in your budget yet, so you're negative 15.9.
Okay. Because originally you said it was on a state bid list. I didn't know if it was like the lights.
No, we had to get it on the
So you
state.
had to get it, okay. Because like for the lights, I think Ronnie last month, you said that lights were already budgeted for and basically paid for.
That was
Done as a bond.
That was a
Years ago.
Okay, so this isn't like that, this was, okay. And that does include, that's from start to finish. So that's, when I saw that number, I was happy because it was 9,000 or 10,000 less than the number we thought it would be. That was my only question.
Anything else?
I have one thing, back to the fire thing, since we didn't spend too much time talking about it.
Once you move to Steve, not go ahead.
Hopefully it's just quick. So I mean, there's been some talk now with some different ideas, like I had said, maybe donating, forgiving all of it, taking all of it, excuse it for a few years. The one thing it seems like a lot of us, Steve, Dave, me, Beth, everyone, thinks about the precedents that's being set. And I can't take credit for this idea, Dave actually showed it to me, but this kind of makes sense too. So we don't have the fire company starting Burger Kings and stuff, and not that God bless them if they can become millionaires doing that, but what if we put a cap on, and you have to explain it better, Dave, but I like, when you said a cap, are you saying, like you said 20,000, are you saying anything more than 20 that we would tax, and that's just a number, say we say 10. Anything more than that, or you're saying the first 10 you forgive? Is that what you mean by
I
that?
think I heard you say that you were in fear that it could grow to $100,000.
Right.
So the way to do that is just that we say we'll exonerate up to, 10, 12, I mean, it's 11,494, so it'd be nice to have it above that number, like so maybe 12,500 or $15,000. And if we don't want to make a mistake forever or revisit this every year, do it for a short period of time, like 2 years, and see where the world is and different things, and doesn't bind future boards into forgiving these taxes for a long period of time. I'm just looking for a compromise that we can put our actions where our mouth is, that we love the fire company, and this is one of the few avenues that we have as a school district to get involved and to show them monetarily for all the work that Bonnie pointed out that they do for us.
I guess something I'd maybe think about, which kind of is like the cap. Maybe, and this would be a legal question, I guess, if school taxes are 15, do you know the number, Dr. Bauer? School taxes, maybe 15 or 20% of what your tax bill overall, when you consider local, state, and school taxes. If there's a number that school taxes is that percent of your tax, maybe we have the fire company, they only have to pay 50% of their school tax. To me, that's kind of compromising the middle, and it's kind of like the cap, I think, if I understand what Dave's saying. And I'm just saying 50%. Maybe they only pay 75% of their school tax, because then there is kind of a compromise. And I'm just thinking out loud. You can make that number whatever you want. But there's a lot of ideas. I'm just wondering how we vote on this next week if we don't hear from the solicitor with all these different things, and what actually will we vote on, Glenn?
We'll get you something next week. If I understood our consensus, Mr. President, you tell me if there was, so we'll be happy to try to address these issues. I took notes.
Okay, well, let's decide what we want to know. Stacy, you wanted to know.
If there's precedent, because of the precedent that's been set in Lickdale, if there will be legal ramifications if we adopt.
What I've written down is there are precedent because previous boards have approved these annual exonerations. The question here is it legal to donate money to fire companies? And then there's questions about the lawfulness of forgiving taxes or exemptions, exonerations. And, is there ideas of potentially crafting any /donation exoneration, with a specific dollar amount or something type of thing. So we can invest that.
Are we go with all of those? Some of those?
Are we gonna wait until the next meeting to get the answers? Because I feel like.
We're gonna put this in writing, get something out by the end of the week, and I'm just
That'd be
documenting
great.
the show to the board.
Dr. Bell, you could share it with the whole board once you get it. That'd be great. Bonnie, you're finished?
Oh, yes.
Anything else?
No, I thought programs, man, what a commitment is to be on there. Anybody programs?
I have one other thing. I'm done for the night. All right, this is for everyone, but about 3.5 months ago, the girls' basketball team started their, I believe, if Bonnie's correct, our 57th season of basketball. The season started with, I believe we were going to finish 3rd or 4th in the division. That was the brilliant sports writer's prediction that they come to all the off-season stuff and put in a lot of time when they do that. But that's what they had us picked to do. And 3 months later, we win our first section title in 30 years. Now we're one of the final 32 teams in the state of Pennsylvania that's playing basketball. Not even Coach Rizzo could get his team that far this year. But I was teasing Coach Battistelli on Monday, and I said to him, hey, congratulations, you caught the bus. And it went over his head. He had no idea what I was talking about. And so I had to explain to him. I said, well, Coach, at Hershey, the coaches have an inside joke. If we can catch the bus by the end of the year, we had a heck of a season. And the bus means earn yourself a trip on a charter bus at the end of the year. Because at Hershey and pretty much any other school that I know of, Cedar Crest, Palmyra, Lebanon, in the state playoffs, if you're playing a game that's quite a distance away, the athletic directors get the kids a charter bus. So he had no idea what I meant, and after I explained it to him, I started to think to myself, you gotta be kidding me. We might send our kids on a 200-mile round trip to Strathaven, more than a 2-hour bus ride, and expect them to play in the state, first round of a state playoff game. And that didn't sit well with me, so I just think if we send the kids on a 2-hour ride with their knees up around their ears on a school bus, and then expect them to try to have a peak performance, I think we're doing them a tremendous disservice. I think making the state playoffs is a once-in-a-lifetime experience that these girls have worked hard to achieve. In 114 seasons of basketball at Northern Lebanon, that's 57 girls, 57 boys seasons, no one's ever done this. So, it's kind of special. I think none of us here think of these girls as second-class citizens, or ourselves as second-class citizens, and I think they need to be treated special because they are special. They deserve to be given the best possible chance to succeed on Saturday in Strathaven, and a 2-hour bus ride with them jammed up isn't going to help them achieve their optimal performance. I know with the hard work of the past school boards and Dr. Bell that we've been fiscally responsible. It's kind of ironic as we just talked about that. But because of this, it should be no problem at all to get our kids a charter. I would like Dr. Bell to go ahead and work on getting the girls a charter bus the first thing in the morning. I spent I had 2 prep periods on Monday. I spent both of them and my lunch period calling a bunch of charters, and unfortunately, 5 days before the game, there's not many charter buses that are available, but I was able to find 2 companies that they're holding them, depending on this vote, or not that it'll be a vote, but depending on this conversation, I think we could still have one for them if we can contact them in the morning. So I just think these girls should be treated like queens. I mean, this is a 2-hour bus ride, and if you want to tell me we're setting a precedence, I absolutely agree we are. In 114 seasons, we've never reached this plateau, and I think the kids need to be. I mean, these
All right,
buses
so how do we make this happen? Yeah, make a motion.
Okay. Well, I'm just talking. What's that?
This is the first, you never have a charter bus.
I mean, this bus has TVs above each seat. These girls are going to be recliners, bathroom in the back. I mean, I think it's special, a special occasion. I think it needs to be done. Dr. Bell, you don't have much work to do. The price is $1,095. I got the price. It's from R&J Transportation in Pine Grove, and I have another one at Bailey Travel in York, PA. You could go with either one, but I just think these girls deserve this, and they've given us a lot of great publicity over the last 3.5 months, and I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Next year, if the boys make state, Steve, I'd like to see your boy on a charter bus one time in his life. You know what I mean? I feel passionate about it, and I hope you guys would at least consider it.
And just to clarify, the idea is that this is such a long ride, so something has been Hershey, it's not
right. I mean, why didn't we do this with the wrestlers? They wrestled in the state tournament because it was a 15-minute ride to Hershey.
So when you go to the Giant Center for the finals,
Right.
the charter bus?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And when they win Saturday and play Lancaster Catholic next Wednesday or whatever, that'll be a school bus. But when they win that and play Altoona the following week, we're going to buck up again. But that's just my 2 cents on this.
I'm really excited about this, but I'm a rule follower, so I just wondered how this meeting is advertised, if we're able to take action at this meeting through a vote, or we need to ratify.
Well, like, when I was asked, I said, if the meeting was advertised, committee meeting for general business purposes, you could. I don't know, again, without knowing what the advertisement is, I don't know what will happen. The other thing you can do, but this has to be a strong consensus of the board, is that there is a strong consensus of the board. You could always ratify at your next public meeting, but or not to do things, but you can do it that way. But then you're committing yourself, then if, you don't have the